Hello, everybody. My name is Alejandro Caballero Guzman. I am a PhD in environmental sciences. I'm very thankful with the Horizons and the Global Institute for Digital Competitiveness for their invitation to share with you this presentation on the business and business sustainability and the environment. First of all, I would like to share with you some of my part of my background. Who am I? What I have done, and what it is my experience on this field. I am an economist and mathematician that is focused on the topic on sustainability and sustainable development, poverty, and inequality are my passions. I studied a master and a PhD on environmental sciences at ETH Zurich in Switzerland. And during my PhD project, I participated in a European Union project on sustainability, which is called Sustainable Nanotechnologies. In this project, I was part of the scientific staff who developed guidelines for increasing sustainability on applications using nanomaterials. As some of you may have listened, nanomaterials and nanotechnology became something relevant in the recent decades. And one of the concerns that we had was what is the impact of these technologies on the environment. Having this in mind, more than 30 institutions, companies, and universities work together in a consortium during 3 years to evaluate the impact of nanomaterials into the environment and to provide some guidelines to European companies. So the question on the back and the question behind was how we can develop new products that have that do not harm not only the humans but also the environment. Um, After that, I moved back to Mexico. I am a Mexican citizen, um, and I worked as data scientist in a financial institution. And currently, I am developing my own consulting company that is focusing on the field of sustainability. And my personal challenge is to create that Mexico is in the frontier of sustainability in Latin America. The presentation that I will give you today is more an overview of the topic of sustainability and business. I think this is important for today's situation. We all know that sustainability it's not only something that is for many people is something fashionable, but beyond that, we should really concern about the health of our environment and our planet. And we know that we are in a world that is focused on economic growth. And one of the questions is how can we pursue this as, type of development that do not harm the environment, that can fight poverty and reduce inequality. So a sustainability framework can provide some of the answers to these challenges. And the title of my presentation, as you can see, it is Business Impact in the Environment and Sustainability. Let's move forward. Mm, I love this presentation because it is shared with the students of bachelor who are studying um, um, business strategies and international relationship. So the um, the horizon of this presentation is exactly to provide this insight to people who is eager to create some businesses and being aware of the challenges that are put by the environment. So this presentation, I think, it is motivating for many of these for not only for students but for all of us who have businesses who are wondering what can we do not only to create employment but to do it without to do it, understanding what sustainability is and how we can become sustainable. So the first topic of my presentation, or the first part of this presentation, it is sustainability and business strategy. Let's quickly just review the definition of sustainability. Sustainability is this achieving a balance between economic growth and respecting the environment and social inclusion. We talk about the three pillars of sustainability, which are the environment, the economic society, the economic and the society. The United Nations defined sustainability development as the development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. This is a kind of not so recent definition, but it is still very new for many um, uh, uh, for many people who is entering into the business who does not understand and wonder what it is sustainability. Basically, is let's create income, let's grow, but let's not compromise the ability of our future generations to for themselves to create to achieve the means that they need to live in their lives, um, and without with the environment that is not destroyed, or with in a society that considers the rights of the other, uh, not of just some groups of privileged people, but of everybody, women, black people, indigenous people. So sustainability, when we think about sustainability, we have to think about the balance between these three elements. It is the money, the society, and the environment. When we think about sustainability, many of us um, try to think about what are the most pressing. Why should I be sustainable? And we have to keep in mind that there are very big problems outside in the world. In each of these dimensions, in the environment, in the society, in the economic, we have a lot of problems, and some of these actual most pressing problems, for example, are climate change. We already know that it's on our shoulders at this moment. We see every day all these huge rains, this instability in the climate, which can destroy crops, increasing the prices of the food, for example. Not only climate change, but the pollution provoked by chemicals and plastics, the biodiversity loss, ocean acidification, animal suffering. In the social side, for example, we are facing problems like racism, discrimination, gender inequality, violence. In the economic dimension, we have inequality, wealth concentration, which are one next to the other, poverty, the increasing debt of many countries, the low wages. So it's important to recognize that there are big problems that we as a society are facing, and that we should keep them in mind if we are pretending to offer a solution when we are creating businesses. Many people who create most of the people who is creating businesses they do not only want to create income, but they also want to create a change and impact, a positive impact into their society. So um, regarding, I just in this first part, I will not go into the detail of the environmental problems, but it's just important. But it is very important to keep in mind the information that is provided by science. If we want to become sustainable, we have to be realistic and read what this scientific information is providing to us. It's now the moment not to have split businesses from one side and science in the other side. People who want to become entrepreneur and be sustainable need to have in their minds what the science is telling to us. And as we can see here, the climate change is a big problem that is affecting the whole world. We can see it in the second diagram. this is the climate change is changing the whole pattern of the climate in the whole world, and it's becoming very uh, um, image that is in the lower right side. It's telling us the Earth is warming up. Why? In the upper part, we have because the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gas emissions are concentrating into the atmosphere. This slide I like to show it because it tells us we as humanity how many Earth do we need to satisfy our needs. And as we can see, it's in the right image. We can see how uh, every year we are consuming more and more of the more and more than the nature can give us, can give can provide as natural resources. The earth has a time to regenerate its own means, those who are renewable, but now every year we finish these resources before they can renovate. And this trend continues, as you can see. There was a short stop in the 2020, but this is the but this big consumption of resources, this overshooting is increasing year by year. This is a trend. As companies, we need, in the message of this slide is that we as a companies need to understand that there is not only the market and the legal environment which affect us as companies. We have to take into consideration the social and the natural environment. These also affect us. And our business strategies need to have an understanding of what the society really needs, not only about the money, but also what it is the impact of a company, for example, mining, um, of um, of the fashion industry, what it is the impact of what I of the clothes that are being created for the environment, for the society. So the message of this slide is companies should take into consideration not only the market and legal environment, but also the social and the natural environment. One interesting question that many people do is if sustainability pays off, and certainly it does. Uh, and but also people would like to be they want to be need to be or to receive they like to see numbers, and in this case, in this slide, what I can see is I like to use this information because it gives you the examples of investments. Um, there, what it is telling us is in the we have three types of investment, and we have social responsibly investment, and socially responsible investment. We have what this images is telling us is that the returns of the investment, which are socially responsible investments, is bigger than those that are not socially responsible investment. Um, those sustainability payoff? Yes, there's several evidence, and this one shows, at least in the field of finance, that those companies that are behaving in a more sustainable way provide bigger returns in every horizon that was that in these four horizons that is shown in this information from Visual Capitalist. The second part of my presentation is regarding the international framework of sustainability. It's many people wonders why what guidelines do I have to become sustainable, or what it is happening in the world that forces not only big companies but medium and small size companies to become more sustainable. In this in this part of my presentation, I will talk a little bit about these treaties and frameworks, which is important that all of us have in mind. There are treaties depending also in the field that you are working. It's for example, if you are um, uh, in the mining sector, if you are in the computer sector, you have to find out which guidelines you can find um, outside in agriculture, in finance. But to talk about a bit about these frameworks, I want to talk about you about I want to talk with you about or just I will just bring it into our mind um, the next in the Paris Agreement, which is focused on fighting the climate change. The Stockholm Convention, which I was working on, that was used to understand what it is the impact of the organic pollutants on the environment and how it can be reduced. And one that was very famous that it had an impact in our lives is the Montreal Convention, which became a guideline for the industry to reduce the use of chemicals that were harming the ozone layer. So treaties and frameworks have an impact on companies, and we have to take it into into the mind, and we have to to we have to keep in mind that there is an increasing a number of these tools in order to support the countries and the companies to move towards sustainable development pathway. Um, One that has become very popular in the last years is the Sustainable Development Goals, which were issued by the United Nations, and one that is having an important impact, for example, in the financial sector. It is the Principles for Responsible Banking. Recently, in Mexico, we signed the free trade agreement between the United States and Canada and Mexico was redesigned, and the new version is more compelling also from the environmental side. Companies in Mexico now have a bigger responsibility on providing services and providing services and products that guarantee, maybe not in this moment, but in the short and medium and long term, the guarantee that that they don't have a negative impact into the environment. In the end of this slide, you can see a list of a link where it provides a Wikipedia that has an exhaustive list of many treaties and frameworks, which worth to take a look if I want to understand what what um, what um, what treaties and frameworks could have an impact in the business field that I am working on. The Paris Agreement. The Paris Agreement is just is the strongest and most important effort that we have done as humanity to keep the temperature the average temperature of the world, the increase of this temperature lower than 2 degrees centigrade. Um, this is it's one of the biggest challenges that we have as countries is to set and to fix a limit on the CO2 and other greenhouse gases emissions to the environment, and to fulfill them in a well-defined period. For to achieve this, um, this figure, which contains just a basic summary of what it is, the Paris Agreement. It's telling us that the developed countries will provide some financiation, some finance to the developing countries to achieve their goals. This is important for small and medium companies because you have to be aware and you have to find out, okay, what kind of financing I can achieve or I can find um, in worldwide institutions that can help me to reduce the impact of my activities onto the environment. Um, this is what I would like to focus on this slide. Please be aware there will be a lot of money. there is an important amount of resources that is that it's outside, that can be used so that you reduce the impact of your activities into the environment. Let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about the Sustainable Development Goals. It's a set of 17 goals issued in 2015 by the United Nations General Assembly, aimed to be reached in 2030. This is the overall and generic goal of these goals is to be used by any organization, either government or company, to achieve a better and sustainable future for all. So I would recommend you to go to the United Nations website and check when you're developing your business strategy, check out these Sustainable Development Goals and how you can contribute to achieve. For example, let's just mention the number one, the no poverty, which is generating a business, which is clear. But for example, gender equality, how can I be more inclusive into my company? The number 9, industry innovation and infrastructure. It is very important, for example, to contribute to this goal that I would suggest that you collaborate with other companies and with research institutions to understand and to understand what it is the impact of your activities into the environment, and to generate some strategies to reduce your carbon footprint, for example. Let's quickly talk about the SDG Compass. It's important that you bear in mind that there are a lot of resources outside, and one of the resources that is outside is the SDG Compass. You can find the website here in the below the image, and then this website provide a lot of ideas on how you can generate business strategies that support your business to become more sustainable. Okay, in this slide, I think it's very attractive for Mexican companies, because now we have into this free trade agreement that was signed on November 2018. It was updated, the environmental section that didn't exist before. And if you want to send your to provide products and services to the United States, it's good that you take a look into these sections. It's the Article 24, because it provides some specific guidelines or goals that you have to bear in mind if you want to trade with the United States and being more sustainable. In the third part of this presentation, I will present to you some of sustainability frameworks that it's important that you have them in mind, and that you have an overall understanding, because these frameworks provide us, as well as the treaties and the agreements. These frameworks provide us with specific ideas on how we can reduce the environmental impact of my business. Compared to agreements and these international frameworks that I have just talked, which some of them are compelling. These are not compelling, but they are very useful in the development of your business strategies. So many of you may have listened about the circular economy. Basically, what this is telling us, let's stop having this lifestyle that is just consuming and dropping and generating a lot of waste. Let's be more creative, and let's think how we can close this, how we can generate this cycle, and like the nature does, how we can reuse more of the, instead of disposing. This framework aims to imitate nature by creating a cycle that eliminates the waste and resources depletion. In practice, this framework faces two limitations: the relative prices between recycled and raw materials, and the lack of infrastructure to properly manage the new life cycle of resources, doing it economically feasible or attractive for businesses. But many countries, my comment to this slide is that many countries are now issuing a lot of are issuing new laws. That just happened 2 weeks ago in Mexico, where a new law on circular economy has just been issued. So it's not easy, but every time we are advancing towards that direction, and we have there are more tools outside there to integrate to participate into the creation of a circular economy that has a more reduced impact into the environment. This is very ambitious, the net zero carbon economy, because this is telling us that in the net emissions of carbon dioxide should be zero. Does that mean that I will not put CO2 into the atmosphere? No, it doesn't mean that. It means that you can also you will issue you will put CO2 into the environment, but you have to look for the ways to take it back again into the soil until we decarbonize. Because the main challenge of this framework is decarbonizing our economy. It says this framework aims to keep the net CO2 emissions resulting from human activities equal to zero. Its goal is to keep the climate change world's average temperature increase of below 1.5, which, being honest, I think this is not feasible at this moment. And this framework is based on the idea that there is a certain budget of CO2 that that you can use to keep that should be not surpassed to keep that the increase in the temperature below that 1.5 degrees. The main challenge is that we are very carbon dependent. We are a carbon dependent economy. The question that we face is how, from one side, reduce the emissions of the CO2, but and the next challenge is, okay, those emissions that I cannot avoid it at this moment, how can I take them back into the soil? And there are many open questions for this to achieve it. But also, this represents certainly a business opportunity for a lot of, in any sector. Here, you can we as or you as entrepreneurs, you have to be creative and you can create businesses so that provide an answer to this open question. You can provide services that help industry and medium small companies to help them keep their CO2 emissions, net emissions, below zero, in equal to zero. And the industrial ecology, this is also another framework or another theory that it's helping, that provides some information on how to optimize the material cycle and to reduce the our environmental footprint. Industrial ecology focuses on the stage of the production processes of goods and services from a point of view of nature, trying to mimic a natural system by conserving and reusing resources. It seeks to optimize the total material cycle, from virgin material to the finished finished material, to component, to product, and to obsolete product, and to ultimate disposal. Limitations include the lack of markets for secondary materials, lack of support from governments and industries, and insufficient investments to adapt current technologies. These environmental, social, and governance criteria it's a set of standards of companies in order to do their operation according to sustainability principles. This framework is currently being used by very big companies, and the challenge is to bring it down and more reachable to small and medium companies. in this moment, it's they are increasingly popular for investments, and investors try to look for companies who follow this the ESG framework. They rate them, and they use them to decide. Okay, how do you remember the slide I show you with the um, returns on the investments of socially responsible and non-socially responsible investment? Well, it's supported by the ESG framework to decide which companies are less or more socially responsible, also environmentally responsible, and to decide how they're going to invest their money. So this framework is behind these investments, and one of the main challenges that we have at this moment is to make it more usable by small and medium companies. And one last framework that I want to mention that is very important is, have you wondered yourself how are you gonna manage the climate risk? Are you aware of climate risk? Um, in sector like building, agriculture, transportation, energy, and even banking, it's every time more and more important that we are aware of the climate risk. How this what would be the climate risk? Is the question is what kind of extreme weather events can impact my production or the services that I am providing? Am I aware of them? This is one of the questions that tries to be answered by this climate risk framework. And there is a big opportunity for people who want to create business to provide some tools, to develop tools on how to measure, how to assess, and how to manage this climate risk. Um, just quickly mention one, what is here in the lower part of the slide. It says one main limitation is the uncertainty associated to the models. Yes, there is a lot of uncertainty on how the weather will behave, but also there is a lot of data that can feed these models. I, as a data scientist, one of the challenges that I'm focusing now is exactly this: how we can use these tools to provide more accurate information that tells the companies what it is the climate risk, not only in the short but also in the long run. And this should be taken into consideration of our business strategies that we are developing. I will end up with this fourth part, which is which tools we have to address sustainability in the companies. We have talked about international framework, the treaties. We have talked about some environmental frameworks that can be used to the development to develop our business strategies. So in this last part, I would like to be more specific on the tools that I have been working with as an environmental scientist, and um, and how could you implement them into the development of your business strategies. Qualitative system analysis. It's an approach that studies the factors influencing a system. It analyzes its interdependencies and explores potential development pathways. Uh, it is widely popular for the definition and the study of future scenarios, and it can be used for optimal strategies definition, factor tuning, and addressing structural changes needed to manage transitions towards sustainability. This um, when when I have different scenarios, I can create a strategy to each of them and to adapt my company, for example, with the shortage of that we are having now of materials in this current time in our world. Prices are increasing, and many companies that did not foresee that are facing the consequences. So This is one tool that is very important to be used to understand what can happen in the future and to adapt and to be prepared to have my strategy to the scenario A, B, and C. And this is widely used by for us as environmental scientists, but also economists and many other groups. Environmental risk assessment. Do you remember I told you in the beginning I was working in this project about nanomaterials and the environment? Well, basically, what we are using is this framework to understand my product that is creating my company, and what are the emissions that they are having and the impact they are having to the environment. If I use this framework, if I identify a hazard, if I understand how my product is affecting the people and the nature, I can adapt in the design phase the creation of my product so that it has a reduced impact into the environment. This is the purpose of this framework. Life cycle assessment. It aims to quantify the environmental footprint of a product through its entire existence, from production to the disposal. Um, we as small and medium companies, we have to bear in mind what it is the environmental footprint of my product. Why it is moving the slides? We have to. It's moving my slides. Life cycle assessments means that you understand what it is the impact of what you're creating since the early stage to the end of life. A lot of successful small and medium companies who want to be. It continues moving my slide. I'm not touching anything. I will just finish quickly. Um, the life cycle assessment, it's a tool that I have to use. No, it continue moving. Well, this life cycle assessment tool, you use it to understand what it is the impact of your product since the early stage to the disposal. And I wanted just to say that the take-home message, it's companies that are becoming successful and regarded as environmentally friendly. It's those who are aware of creating a product that when they are disposed, they can either be recycled, for example, textiles, or they can be disposed without negative impact into the environment. And the probabilistic material flow assessment, it's a tool that is used to understand the overall impact that my products have into the environment. And for this, you have to use a lot of statistics, data science, and as you can see here in these different boxes, you assess during the production, the manufacturing, the use, and the end of life of your product. You can assess in the you can assess how the emissions of how your product is impacting the environment and the different we call compartments of the nature: air, soil, and water. There are many other tools that can be used to reduce the impact of my business in the environment, which I will just list here. The multi-criteria decision analysis, safe by design thinking, transdisciplinarity, system dynamics, and hazard identification and vulnerability analysis. So with this, I finish. This is my contact information. You feel free to send me. Please feel free to send me any question regarding these topics. And last but not least, I would like to thank again to the Global Institute for the digital competitiveness. And I hope that this presentation has provided you some useful insights on how to create a more sustainable company. Thank you.